After all these years, I never doubted that that night was real. And now Julian insists that it's all just a bad dream, and now he does. Why not back then?
Well, Father claims the psychiatrist told the family not to challenge your story.
What does that mean? What does any of this mean? I mean, it's all so... What do you think, Ethan?
If you think what happened that night was real, then it was. I believe you, Sheridan.
I just wish I did. I mean, now I don't know what to believe anymore. Or who.
If it wasn't a dream, then who was the body under the sheet? And that's the question here. And who could that person have been?
I don't know who the body was. All I know is that I saw one and I had blood on my hands. Or did I?
You've got to try going easy on this, Sheridan.
How, Ethan? I mean, tell me how, and I will. I'm just so confused. I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to do. That night was so many years ago, and I've had to practically live my whole life with this eating away at me.
No.
You know, I remember when I first went to that mental facility in Paris. One of the first psychiatrists who saw me kept saying over and over that that night didn't happen, that it was just a dream. But I knew I couldn't believe him. Because to me, it all seemed so real. But now I can't help but wonder.
Because of what Father said?
Maybe. You know, I thought that I had finally reached a point in my life where I could almost forget about that night. But then I came back home to Harmony, and all those memories came flooding back to me. Every time I step into that living room, I keep living that night over and over.
You know what I hope? For your sake, I hope Father is right. I hope this was only a bad dream.
I hope that too, more than anything. But I have to know what happened. I cannot get on with my life until I know the truth. I just wish that there was someone who could give me the answers that I'm looking for. Wait a minute. There is.
Who?
The person who can help me is sitting right over at that table.
You can't mean Luis. He hates our family. Not only that, he's a cop. Sheridan, you can't get the police involved in this. It would be a total disaster.
I'm not talking about Luis. I'm talking about Pilar. She worked for the family then. She knew what was going on. And she would never lie to me. Maybe if I ask her, she'll tell me the truth.
Well, how are you going to talk to Pilar if Luis is there? I mean, if he got the slightest hint of what we were talking about...
I know. That's why I thought maybe you could figure out something to distract him. Pilar?
Sheridan.
I hate to bother you, but I really need to talk to you.
Of course. Please, sit down.
Julian told me some things about what happened that night. I want to know the truth. I want you to tell me. It was all in my head. That's what Julian said. It was nothing more than a bad dream. But it seemed so real to me. And that's why I'm so confused. I need your help, Pilar. I need you to tell me everything that you remember.
Sheridan, I wasn't there that night. All I know is that the next morning when I came to work, you were still upstairs in your room. I was told by your family that you were not to be disturbed, that I shouldn't go near you. That I was so worried. I went anyway. I had never seen you like that. You were terribly upset, frightened to death. I could barely understand what you were talking about.
What did you understand?
You had seen a dead body under a bloody sheet. That when you looked at your hands, they were also covered with blood. Then you became completely hysterical and you told me that you had killed someone.
Oh, God.
Before anything else could be said, Mr. Allister came into the room.
I remember Father coming into the room. I don't remember why. What did he say?
Oh, he was so angry. Your father told me that I shouldn't believe anything that you were saying. That you had had a horrible nightmare and that you were still very shaken by it.
You believed him?
I wasn't sure what to believe. You seemed to be so convinced that it had happened. I couldn't ignore what you were saying.
What did you do then?
I obeyed your father. Mr. Allister's not a man one defies, so I left.
You went home?
Not right away. I went downstairs first and looked in the living room. There was no body, no coffin, no sign of blood anywhere.
So you changed your mind and agreed with Father that it was all in my imagination?
No, Sheridan. You used to suffer from horrible nightmares back then, and you used to sleepwalk.
I remember I used to have crying fits, and I would weep uncontrollably.
You were sad all the time. So sad. And that's one of the reasons your father sent you to Paris.
The asylum.
My poor Sheridan. I was so worried about you. About what might happen if you were to repeat what you saw that night. So I made you promise that you would never repeat it to anyone outside the family.
And I haven't, except the doctors in Paris.
Mr. Allister told me that the doctor said that we should not challenge your story, that we could never mention it, that no one should ever know.
They think I was either a murderer or a lunatic.
All I cared about back then was protecting you.
And now, Pilar, are you still protecting me? Are you still protecting me, Pilar?
No.
I want the truth.
I'm telling you everything I know. I would never lie to you, Sheridan. Surely you know that by now.
I do. I'm sorry. It's just that I'm so desperate to find out what really happened that night.
I see how this has affected your life and haunted you, and I can't help but feel that perhaps it would be better if you listened to your brother.
I believe it was just a nightmare.
Put the past behind you, Sheridan. Don't let it take more of your life than it already has.
I want to believe that it never happened, Pilar. More than anything, I want to believe. But I have to know the truth. I have to know what happened, no matter what it is.
You still look upset. What did Pilar say?
All she knows is what I told her about what happened that night.
That's it?
Apparently, Alistair impressed upon her that it was nothing more than a nightmare.
And she believed him.
Well, she went downstairs and found nothing. No body, no traces of blood, nothing. And since she wasn't certain whose story was the truth, because there was no evidence, she promised that she'd never say anything. She never will.
Oh, thank God. I love Pilar, but her son's a cop who has it in for our family.
He's already suspicious that I'm hiding something in my past.
We can't risk Luis or anyone on the police force getting wind of this. Body or no body, you'd immediately be accused. They'd drag your name through the mud.
All I want to know is the truth about what happened that night. I just wish Pilar had known something more.
Don't worry. We'll find the answer and I'll help you. Do you want to go? I'll get your coat.
What is it? What have I done now?
Nothing. Look, it's just that there's been something that I've been meaning to tell you, and
Yes?
well, you know, it was pretty decent of you the way you talked to the mayor and your brother, and I appreciate it. That's all.
You're serious?
Yeah.
You're actually thanking me?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But this doesn't change the way I feel about you or your family. You know, you were the one who got me into the problem in the first place, okay?
You know, you should just quit while you were
No, you know what? You should have quit while you were ahead.
Hey, I meant what I said. Yeah, here we go, fighting again. Luis. You're welcome.
All right.